Today is the 6th of August. This is the Water Quality Management Committee meeting. I think we have a reasonably short agenda today, but we do have to wrap up by 6:15 because somebody else is in the room after us, so. If anybody starts getting into I have no idea, but I'm told that somebody's here at 6:30, and, so they need some time to get in. So if anybody feels like pontificating, save it for the next meeting. Okay? The other thing I want to say is, Corin, thank you for continuing to be an advocate, a tireless advocate, and pushing on things and working with us. I understand your role and function will be changing as the month unfolds, so personally, I thank you for your work and your effort. I don't know if anybody else on the committee feels the same way, but you're all willing to thank her if you think she's been of any assistance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate that, Steve. But I'm not disappearing.
I heard that.
Okay.
I don't pray. So then, the first item is the status of community outreach on the offshore Outfall. I guess that falls on me. We met last Saturday morning with the Falmouth Heights, is it Neighborhood Association?
Falmouth Heights Mira Vista Neighborhood Association.
And Ed, you can do a little summary, you were there.
Well, it was a really good, as always, professional presentation by Amy on the Outfall. There were a couple of questions, mainly about some of the logistics along properties in the area and the time frame, and also, well, why was this the site off Kite Park? And between Steve and Amy, that was well responded to about all of the analysis that has been made, all the studies that have been published as part of these meetings. And the reason I talked to the person that asked the question after, and he said he knew the answers because he gets the reports. I send them to the officers after our meetings, but that he wanted the town officials to be able to say it to people who weren't familiar with the whys of that site selection. So I think it went extremely well, and the outreach continues. There was a lot of discussion after the meeting, some one-on-ones. I stayed there and talked to people, and we need to continue that. I think there's still people with the concept of, oh my God, there's going to be raw sewage on Falmouth Heights Beach. They don't understand the quality of the effluent. So I think the most graphic thing is you hold up a glass of it and say, here's what it looks like. But people have that apprehension and misunderstanding, so it continues.
The other thing we talked a little bit about with the people that were in attendance is, last winter, as the winter unfolded, Eversource showed up to do a directional drilling, a couple thousand feet off the shore, 20-inch diameter pipe, put up sound barriers, made a mess of the Mill Road parking lot. But if you drive by the Mill Road parking lot now, they're long gone and the parking lot's all completely restored. So they could,
And Surf Drive looks better than ever because they repaved it.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, and they were there for a very short period of time.
I didn't mention the repaving, but I did offer that, we've been talking about the interruption, what it's going to look like, and how we get restored. So we've got a good, real-world example right here that they could see. Okay? Second item on our agenda is to consider a vote to recommend that the Select Board authorize the town manager to execute an environmental notification form for Falmouth's Ocean Outfall project for a transmittal to the Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act office. We're an advisory board to the selectmen. Technically, anybody can file an environmental notification form, but for, community engagement involvement, Amy, in consideration, decided that getting the select board to agree to submit it would be a good thing, and that this board's support of them doing that. I think you all have got the 25 to 30 pages of executive summary. Amy wrote the first part of the executive summary. The rest of it was put together by our consultants. We are doing everything we can to stick to a schedule and not let things slip here. But I would open it up to, if you've all read it, if, we're not, constructive things that maybe, as we finalize this document, beyond the select board saying, please submit this document, that we can do. So, Steve's got, you have a finger up, Steve.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, it was very easy to read, because you and Amy have done such a good job of presenting it to us ahead of time.
Amy, I was missing.
Okay, Amy has done such a good job of preparing us, so there was, to me, nothing new there.
I guess I'm going to go to you, Ed.
Okay. Just a couple of questions as I went through it. You know, the appendices are cited but not part of it, and when would those be available?
So I can make those available tomorrow.
I think the data is important for reference. Just a couple other quick points. You know, in the executive summary, page 5, Roman numeral, talks about public engagement. And I would emphasize there, just my druthers if I had written, and this is, I agree with Steve Layton, an excellent document, that, you know, we've already begun that outreach between presentations at select board meetings, at these water quality meetings, and the neighborhood association meetings as recently as Saturday. And the local newspapers had a lot of, thanks to Katie and her cohorts out there, that, you know, there's been a lot of publicity already to prepare the public of the concept of what is coming. So I just think it's important to recognize we haven't been waiting on submission of the ENF. That outreach and explanation's already there, so great job.
Ken?
I thought it was excellent.
Ditto for me.
I guess it falls to me then. I have trouble with the title because I thought we had agreed it was an offshore outfall and not an ocean outfall. I mean,
No, that's okay. Amy's got the answer. So there's a whole setup here, so I'm glad you brought it up.
okay, good.
I know that the committee talked about that. There is a figure in the ENF that shows the definition, the area defined in the Ocean Sanctuaries Act
Right.
as an ocean sanctuary, and the outfall falls within what's defined as an ocean sanctuary. So it seems to me that since that's, you know, a large part of the permitting process that we're going through here, that we should just go with their term, which is that this is an ocean outfall.
We're going with
I
the-
recognize
Can we call it an ocean sanctuary outfall then?
That's exactly what Kristen thought you might predict.
Yeah, I mean,
Told you he'd
it's
recommend that.
silly because it's not in the ocean. We've had these
No, that's good,
discussions.
that's good. We're going with the Commonwealth's definition, not the USGS or the, you know, the
Well,
map. So
the natural definition, so, anyway. there's-
I understand what you're saying. This isn't the far out open ocean. This is closer to shore. However, we have to meet the requirements of the Ocean Sanctuaries Act for this outfall, and I think it's appropriate to use that term. And saying ocean sanctuary outfall every time would be burdensome or a lot of words.
Yeah, I agree, it's one more long word, polysyllabic word. And in the second paragraph of the executive summary, I assume this is GHD's writing,
No, it's mine.
there's the confusion again between nitrogen-sensitive areas and coastal ponds.
Okay.
But that's cleared up again, that's clear, but made very clear a few pages farther in.
The watersheds too,
So-
i.e. the watersheds too.
The watersheds for the coastal ponds with,
Yes,
okay, that,
that's a good.
okay. Then, let me see what else we've got here. There's a bunch of little typos and things through it.
Yes.
Do you want me to let you know about those?
So what's,
say yes, and I'll give you a copy.
yes, I definitely want to know. I've seen a lot of those myself.
Yeah.
And,
Well, maybe we can stay for a few minutes afterwards, and I can just hand you my copy.
So could I take it and scan it and give it back to you?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I can download another copy. I would just give you my marked up. I've got the pages noted
So I
here.
definitely I agree with you, there are some,
Okay, most of those are little things, very minor things. But when we get back to evaluation, it's page 16, and they mention Saxodomus gigantea.
yeah,
That's a west coast species of bivalve. It's not found at all. And they're referring, I believe, to Spicula solidissima, which is also known as the butter clam.
yes, and they don't mention oysters or,
Yeah, a bunch of other, and interestingly enough, scallops, are excluded from consideration because, at least in the US, we just eat the adductor mussel.
so tell me again the page where?
Pardon me?
16.
No, that's page 16.
Yeah,
That's under section 1.2.7.
yeah.
Anyway, and just at the last sentence of the section before that, it says, the SIR will be issued in July 2025. Has it? It hasn't yet been.
So, no.
Okay.
So,
So-
I'm sorry, let me just take that first comment. Okay, where's that comment?
That's the last sentence in section 1.2.6 under hydrologic evaluation, and it's the companion data release, which is anticipated to be issued in July 2020.
Yeah, they delayed that until.
Okay.
We're supposedly gonna get it this week.
Okay, good. Let me keep going here.
In the summer of, how about that?
Late summer.
Couple places reference the desire to have no long-term impacts. I hope our desire is to have no long-term negative impacts,
Okay.
right? One is on page 20, under 1.2.9, where it says long-term monitoring. And the same thing on the next page, under proposed outfall location. That's section 2.2.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I will look at those, I think you're right, that is definitely our
Okay.
goal. But there is, there will be some sediment disturbed when they
Right.
come up from the bottom to put those diffusers on,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing.
I just didn't want to exclude any potential positive impacts. I was going to leave maneuvering room. And then in the conclusion on page 24, the opening sentences, in my sense of writing, sadly passive.
Yes.
It sounds like the town of Falmouth is just going to be allowed to do something finally, and I would prefer a more active voice because we're working really hard on this. And I would say upon completion of the ocean outfall project, the town of Falmouth will transition from groundwater discharge and will also possess the required treated effluent discharge capacity to meet future needs. It just puts the town in an active mode instead of in a passive mode.
Yep.
And again, that's just personal spin on things like this, because we're working hard on that. And then in that extra text section,
That was my mistake. I cut that from earlier and put it at the end in case I wanted to use it again, and I forgot to delete it before I sent this out.
but are you going to be adding to that, or is that just a note to yourself? Because there's that phrase in there, it says, "does not cause undo the progress made."
Right.
The hay over the fence to the horse I throw it.
Yeah, well, sort of, except the horse stuff is not.
I cut that from elsewhere in their report, and
Okay.
my goal was to see if I needed it again later, but
Okay.
I think my plan was to.
Okay, good. And I'll give you this, and I don't need it back, whatever.
Okay. John?
Yeah, thanks. I thought it was a really well-written document. I really
Yes.
like the way you laid out the case for why it's so important to have this outfall pipe as opposed to just reintroducing the water back into the sand beds. The only part I struggled a little bit with was the table and the different planning scenarios, and you know, the dates on those seem to be pushed out a bit, 2037, and I forget, 2040 something. And the numbers that are used there, I mean, I realize these are very preliminary, but are those numbers that you think are going to evolve more towards the low side of things, or you're just trying to cover a wide range because there's so much uncertainty at this point?
So GHD included that directly, it's a copy directly from the 2022 Great Pond TWM. And so it reflected where we were at that time, as far as planning level flows and timing of future projects. One of the things I've been working on since I sent this to you all was more explanation for this section of where we've come since the TWMP. So I think the town has done a substantial amount of additional work since then, and I think it's worth summarizing that.
Oh, Amy, I just figured out why the FCTV guy stuck his head in the door. He wants you at the microphone.
You're not at the mic.
Right. I apologize. I think that that table was an important summary table, and it shows where we were at the time of the 2022 TWMP, Targeted Watershed Management Plan for Great Pond. But I think this report, or this document, needs a discussion, an introduction, a summary of the work that's been done between then and now. And so I've drafted that, and what I'd like to do is send you guys an FYI update of how I've suggested revising this after, like, tomorrow.
Yeah, my suggestion would be that you point out that this table came from that source.
Absolutely.
And that the town is currently preparing for and organizing a revision of all of this that will be done during the time that we're designing and building the outfall.
Right, so I think when the regulators review this, they're going to use this to say what else they want to see in the DEIR. And so I think the goal is to summarize where we've come so far and introduce the evaluations that are still to come, and let them tell us what additional information they want to see. We have done more evaluation even than is covered in this ENF. So whether they ask for it or not, I think there will be additional useful background provided in the DEIR.
And just the last thing, I think you shared with us in previous presentations a timeline, a chart that shows the different elements that have already happened and those elements that need to happen in order to complete this process. Is there something in the appendices that would have that, or could be stuck into the main body? It's always good for people to see what's going on in the future and what's already been completed.
Jonathan, I would go down the path of, once this is submitted, having Amy come back with an updated timeline showing that we've made the submittal and the things that are going to happen on the other side of that timeline to get completed.
I think it would be important to have it in the document, too, that goes to the environmental group that's going to be reviewing this.
So we have, in the last presentation I gave, there was a schedule, a one-page schedule of our permitting process, or of our process. It doesn't include the details of what permits we'll be applying for when. That we do have a list of permits in this ENF, but I could include that overall schedule to show them.
I'm going to go back and forth with Jonathan for a little bit. So we could right now sort of presume what the timeline's going to be. To a certain extent, once we submit this, it's a little bit out of our hands, in that the state then establishes how things will or won't be done. We have been in conversation with somebody in the MEPA unit, correct?
Oh, yes.
So this isn't showing up unannounced on their doorstep. And one of the early feedbacks that we would push for in that first initial timeline block, if they've received it, they've got it, they've looked at it at a macro level, is then I would say we want to then try to get them to work with us on a timeline and see if we can tighten it up and not have it blow up, okay? So we could make a timeline and they might be able to do it in a shorter time than our timeline. They won't then say, oh, your timeline's too long. They'll be like, oh, yeah, you need 3 years, great, we'll just follow along with you. So I would rather get it in their hands and then say, how fast can you guys do your thing? Okay? Because we want to get this done.
See you.
Go ahead.
I would support that also. Think about the psychology of it. If you're applying for a building permit to any town to build a house, you don't tell them that you're going to start construction in a week, and so you expect their answer by Friday. That's a guaranteed way of taking for about at least a third of the personalities in the world to say, that's for me to decide, not for you to tell me when I'm going to decide. So you were asking permission to do something. We can't tell them how fast they have to give us an answer.
Oh, that's fine, but we have also published a 2031, 2032 timing of when we think it's going to be done. So we have some conceptual model, but I understand
But
why
not
you
in the
want to
report.
put them, force into a box.
Corin, I'm going to throw this over to you and go to the microphone if you can. You've swirled around this drain more than once on ENFs and timelines. Suggestions or advice?
Corin Peterson with the Buzzards Bay Coalition. The coalition will continue to urge the town to do it in as rapid a time frame as possible. For the town, I think that you could put in the ENF, our hope is to have this completed by the timeline that Amy has, but I wouldn't say this is the timeline. I would say we would hope to accomplish it at least by then, this point. I mean, I think you want to reflect to the regulators that, you know, there is momentum behind this, but I agree with Mr. Layton and Mr. Rafferty that, you know, you don't want to short circuit yourself either and give yourselves more time than the regulators are going to give you either. So I think you could write the narrative in such a way that it accomplishes both.
I think we have a pretty assertive schedule, and we can show them that, but I can look at it with you afterwards.
Anybody else in the audience? Okay. All right, so
You want a motion to?
a motion that we took to recommend to the select board that they authorize the submittal of the environmental notification for Falmouth's Ocean Sanctuary Outfall project.
So I'll make that motion.
Second.
In a second?
Wait, we're not going to include the word sanctuary. That was a joke, right? I was suggesting we should call it the ocean outfall.
I like
Because
that.
we're going to say the words ocean outfall a billion times between now and then.
I would like to amend the motion that's been made to strike the word sanctuary.
Yeah.
Yes, second.
Ken, did you raise your hand?
Well, I was going to agree with you, because I think we don't want to say we're putting an outfall in a sanctuary. It just doesn't.
It's got a
have good
connotation.
ring. It does not have a good ring.
It's the regular. It's the regulatory term.
Understood.
And if Trump finds out there's sanctuaries in Massachusetts, he's going to come after us.
Exactly.
He already knows that.
Let's stay at the local politics, okay?
There's a motion on the floor.
There's a motion that's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Kristen, you'll get something out to the Diane Davidson or whomever? Does it go through you, Amy? We give it to you and you put it in the package, give tomorrow?
I think we want to put something in writing coming from the committee, saying what the committee wrote. Okay.
Yeah, but the package goes out tomorrow for Monday.
Yes.
So we need to kind of boom, boom, do it.
Okay. Yes.
The ENF goes out tomorrow?
So
So you have some,
Select board.
the select board packet is due tomorrow
with,
for their
which would
Monday meeting.
include our recommendation for the.
Yes.
Yes, I understand.
Yep.
All good? Okay, moving on. Item 3 on the agenda is waivers for urine diversion pilot program. discussion and a vote, and I'm going to turn over to you, Steve, because you've been our representative on the Urine Diversion Liaison Committee, or the UDLC, as we like to refer to it.
Thank you. As you may know, at our last meeting, there was a discussion of possible waivers for the 25 volunteers in the planned urine diversion pilot project. And I relayed Kristen's very nice minutes of that discussion to the urine diversion liaison group, and they appreciated it. They discussed it, and they proposed the waivers as described here on the screen, which I think is a reasonable compromise. Please note that the Urine Diversion Liaison Group is not a subcommittee of the Water Quality Committee, and although there is some town funding and support, the bulk of the funds are credited to the Mass Technical Center's grant. And in order to expedite the project, I urge a yes vote.
Any comment from the board or discussion from the board on the wording? John?
I think it's absolutely inappropriate at this stage of this project for us to be offering or consider, having the selectmen consider to offer waivers.
Waiver from what? I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you clarify what you're granting a waiver from?
Yes.
It should be at the beginning.
Maybe I should have read what was on the screen. The town offer waivers to the 25 volunteer participants, not in a demonstration project. This is not at this time for any permanent program. That would be decided in the future based on the results of the study. No waivers from sewer hookups. That's pretty clear, right? No waivers from sewer. And a 10-year waiver from the IA mandate.
So item 3 is the waiver that you're proposing?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And it,
Yes, and the reason the other words are there is to make it clear that it's not from sewers and that it's only for the 25 volunteers.
So originally in your language.
In the second line, it should actually say, the town offers waivers from any IA mandate subject to the following conditions.
Yeah, I think
That's
that would
fine.
be clearer.
I have no problem with that.
Okay,
But
go ahead, Ken.
originally, there was some language about so long as the participants continue to, use or have their.
That was discussed, but the liaison group thought it was too complicated and impractical, and we're relying, because it's a research project. We don't know how it's going to turn out. And
Right, but the point then would be if they.
And then we have to.
Convert it, they would lose their waiver from for any reason, not necessarily.
Oh, yes, of course, they would have to keep doing the urine diversion.
Well, it
But,
doesn't.
but we didn't want to get into the details. The main point is that it's only 25 out of thousands
I
of people.
agree that it's
So the
trivial.
impact on the town is trivial, is negligible.
Yeah, it's fine, but I just remember that, which I thought made some sense, that you had some language that said so long as they were continuing to participate in the program.
Yeah, I would think, Ken, that, as the program's evolving, there's some contract that will be provided to whoever participates, and we should get a chance to see what that language looks like before
Yeah.
it goes forward.
Anyway.
John had the floor.
Can I continue? I mean, we have yet to see even the design of this project, let alone the results. I think it's way too early to be considering waivers until this project is completed. I would be quite happy if after we see the results of the study and they look favorable, that we, as a committee, recommend to the Board of Selectmen that there should be certain waivers for the people who participated. But to do that in advance of even seeing the design of the project, let alone the results, I think is absolutely premature.
Okay, I'm going to bounce it back to Steve momentarily, just to try to what was the impetus for your working group to get into the waiver discussion at this stage of the process, Steve?
As a reasonable incentive for people to become volunteers, and the fact that the impact, the technical impact on the nitrogen in the town from whatever 25 people do is negligible.
So if somebody agreed to participate in the program and successfully did what they had to do, then the waiver would take place, not it would come up front, it would come after successful participation.
Yes. That's correct.
Okay, I think I've got Tom, and then I'll get you.
Yeah.
Ed.
I'm very concerned that there's no floor for continuing the waiver. There's no performance standard. So someone could say, I'm going to sign up for this, and then say, knowing that they're going to not have to worry about putting in a $60,000 IA system and never worrying about.
10 years.
Yeah, for 10 years, that's a long time. How often do houses turn over in Falmouth, right? I mean, it's.
But
I would like
it's
to-
small compared to the timescale that we imagine we would be introducing IAs.
Right?
Well, for the benefit,
Seen from far away in time, you can't see any difference.
All right. Ed?
I think you've clarified, one of my questions was, what waivers? We're talking only a waiver from an IA mandate, correct? Just a waiver singular, correct? It says
Just for
waivers
10
plural.
years.
Just from that one requirement, no waivers from anything else. It is one waiver, period,
Right.
not singular, not plural.
Waiver per parcel.
Just a waiver from an IA mandate. At this juncture, there is no IA mandate. The Board of Health continues to wrestle with a very
Okay,
limited.
from any IA mandate.
Well,
Well, as an IA mandate is issued by the Board of Health, it could incorporate the waiver provision.
now, that was the next, it says a 10-year waiver from IA mandate. Is that 10 years from when you start this program, or 10 years from when and if an IA mandate is decreed? Because all the Board of Health is
From
looking
when
at
the program is started.
from the urine diversion
Right.
pilot test
Right.
thingy. The other is, and I don't know, it gets into some of those nutty details that everybody's wrestled with about what is the requirement to participate. Is it one toilet or all toilets, or what is going to be the parameters of, the program's ill-defined. We don't know what this project is, and it is not our program, so I understand that. But what are they talking about doing?
That's the way I hear it now, Kim can correct me if I'm wrong, that it's, some would have one toilet, others would do the whole house, others might do 2 out of 3 or whatever.
It would seem to me that you would stipulate that.
But we're not critiquing the scientific validity of it.
Right. But to grant a waiver from an IA mandate, let's say one is put in with new construction and also a time trigger and also, transfer of deed trigger, to say somebody is waived from that requirement because they did 1 out of their 6 toilets and they hardly ever use this thing, it would seem to me you need to tighten up the requirement of who would get the waiver from IA mandates to what they have to do. Do they just have to do 1 out of their 6 toilets? I mean, it seems awfully loose and ill-defined for us to say, yeah, we support
I
this idea.
submit that most people with 6 toilets are going to be laughing at any urine diversion.
I do too.
Okay.
I do too, but, I think you need to define it because it's easy to game the system if there is no requirement for what is actually the homeowner required to do. All toilets? or
Again,
one-
I come back to that it's only 25 volunteers. I think they're sincere people. I think in a permanent program, you need many protections because there would be people that would game the system because then presumably the waiver would be indefinite. But this is a volunteer program. A substantial fraction of the population, of the active, politically active population of Falmouth is interested in it and think it's a saving technology. And there are aspects of it that are superior to other technologies. So it just seemed like be irresponsible to expect a volunteer, to get very many volunteers that would go to the trouble of having their house replumbed, and then 10 years later, have to put in an IA anyway.
Ken, you had your hand up?
Well, first of all, I think it's not clearly written, and secondly, if this, I think this should be a model for a future waivers, if we're going to have it. So let's do it right, and I can, for the benefit of the study, I think we want the people to be serious about it and continue to use their appliances. And so I just think there should be some explicit requirement that they be continuing with the work and that they, with the test. And I understand the idea of not including all the toilets so that you're seeing, personal choice, does that work? Although I think you will never get DEP to agree to allowing less than a full conversion. So I'm not sure it's really worth pursuing that angle. I understand, and you're also getting a very biased sample because the people who are going to do this are going to be pretty committed. So that's not going to be representative.
I absolutely agree with you, but
population. So those are
politically and practically, it's only 25 people who are doing something to show us about UD. It's a very tough row to hoe to go in between scientific
Steve,
validity and political
I
practicality.
like the idea of creating incentive. I just think we should be a little more rigorous in what we're demanding from the participants to give them a waiver.
So I want to remind everybody on this board or who's ever listening that when the UD concept first came forward, we were on a path of trying to get it approved as an IA, such that if somebody put the UD in, they would have met the requirement for an IA in their area. The thing has evolved a little bit. Now the path to UD being an IA is not as clearly defined. So maybe we don't take a vote making a recommendation today, but I think the principle that if these 25 people volunteer and they are, inside a nitrogen-sensitive zone, that they get some level of relief from having to then put an IA in that meets the DEP's requirement of an IA, even though the urine diversion is achieving the same nitrogen reduction as an IA, if not greater. So I think we might be able to take a
Are you saying that you think that the road to getting UD approved as an IA is dead? Because I thought that was a great strategy.
Nobody who's in the urine diversion liaison group that's working on this right now, and the DEP folks that they are interacting with, to my knowledge, are working on getting it to be an approved IA.
That's correct.
They are not.
They are not.
It just will be credit for nitrogen removed to the town. Granted, there's a catch-22 in that
Shellfish is
for
not
planning.
Shellfish is not an approved IA.
Right. it's
Fertilizer
more like-
collection's not an
exactly,
approved IA,
exactly.
but it has an advantage.
Also, there's a very tight timeline on planning for this, for November town meeting, and for just getting the program going. And Kim and I have been working on the agreement for the volunteers. And we can't do that without knowing what the basic principles are. I'm perfectly willing to edit this in any reasonable grammatical way to make it clearer, but Peter Johnson Staub, who's the key member, if not the chairman of this group, definitely would like a vote one way or the other. There are plenty of people out there who probably think that the reward for the volunteers should be much greater. I think this is a reasonable political compromise.
If there's more from the board, I'll entertain it. Tom?
Well, I was going to do two things. One, I just see making this 10-year waiver from having an IA installed to someone that decides, well, yeah, I'm going to jump on that. I'll say this toilet over here is going to be my UD fixture, and then not worry about whether they're complying with it or not, never worry about the results, because I worry that you're going to have a whole lot of volunteers that have no interest in the program. They're signing up just to get this little attractive 10-year waiver.
It's only 25.
It's only 25.
I know, but how are you going to control who signs up for it?
They'll be interviewed by Brian Horsley and others.
Right?
There are some very eager, very sincere people.
I don't
Some of
doubt
them are
that.
in this room.
I don't doubt that at all. I'm just concerned that you're going to be flooded.
If we are flooded with cheaters, that's too bad, but actually, that would be, I don't think we will be, but if we were, you could look at that as a very valuable piece of information. This study is valuable whether it comes out positively or negatively.
Right.
If it comes out roundly negatively, we can go on to other things.
I'm going to entertain comments from the audience.
Okay.
Maggie?
John? John didn't get a chance.
Oh, I'm sorry. John,
getting behind
I'm
the row
sorry, I'm
ahead.
blocking.
I didn't let John speak yet, sorry.
I was going to say, I'm with Ken on this one. I support the waiver. It's a small incentive, but I do think the language needs to be tightened up significantly, and I need to be some, sideboards on this. The period that it goes, if the person who has the household abandons it after 10 years, I don't really think they should continue to get a waiver.
Or 5 years.
Yeah, whatever. And they use it. If they use it, the waiver continues because they're removing nitrogen from the groundwater. And they're doing
Assume
that
I've
for-
got that in there.
Hold on. So you're like, today we could say in principle, we think this is a good idea, but we need to get a better refinement of what actually is going to be before we can make a recommendation to the selectmen.
Could do that, or Kristen could type that in right now.
I don't like doing things on the fly.
Okay.
Okay?
I agree.
I think that's poor. I think that's poor.
And the last point I was going to make,
Look, though, you could do a 1,000-page, document and hand it to everybody and ask for a vote tomorrow. No, so, no, I said keep no national politics out of it.
the last point I
Jonathan?
was going to make was just that when we don't go down, this being an IA technology, and I understand why we're not doing it, but we lose the opportunity to tap into that 60% tax credit that would defray a lot of the cost of putting these into a home and make, for a homeowner, probably the biggest incentive is that the state, not the town, is going to provide you with a significant amount of money towards the cost of converting your plumbing. So we lose that opportunity.
Yeah, you're right. And
But
this
that's
is-
a totally different
yeah,
issue.
I'm not- I
but
know.
just-
It came up, so I just wanted to
This is a
put it
case
in.
where the pathway to anything having to do with UD, whatever it is and however it gets accepted, has to fit someplace into Title V, to state level. And the DEP controls that and what they will or won't tolerate or accept. And over the last year and a half, that we've totally moved from what we thought we were trying to do to get to something to now, they're willing to let this go as a nitrogen-reducing
No, I understand.
technique.
I understand
But
the
they are-
rationale.
They're pulling it back from that whole IA.
It's too bad.
The flip side of that is if it costs a lot more money to put in a conventional IA and it's less money for a UD, any individual homeowner might come out at the same number. Okay. All right, Maggie, sorry for cutting you off before.
I'm Maggie McGaugh from Waquoit, member of the boards of Citizens for the Protection of Waquoit Bay and the Falmouth Coalition and Old Ladies Against Underwater Garbage. I feel that the UD program is so worth supporting, there is such urgency to figure out which of these technologies that are under consideration will actually make a difference. And it is possible that this won't pan out, but there's no way to know that until it is tried. And the investment by the homeowner, not talking financial, but the pain and suffering of a replumbing of a house and replacement of fixtures and reorganizing a household's bathrooms is a really substantial investment that the homeowners are making in pursuit of this common good. And so, I really hope that the WQMC will make a strong vote in favor of this really relatively modest waiver. I mean, the timeline, as I understand it, the timeline for installation of IAs is going to be 20 years. So this only gets somebody halfway if it doesn't turn out to be an IA-approved technology. It seems like a really pretty safe thing that the WQMC can support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kim?
Kim Comart from the Falmouth Pond Coalition. I like the concept up here, but I think what I'm hearing, and I agree, is there should be some tightening up of language to clarify what the homeowner is required to do. We do have a draft contract with the homeowner, which has a lot of expectations in it, but I think we need to, I'm all for having Ken or Tom or someone on the committee help us create some language here that could come back to you that satisfies what I think are, legitimate questions. One thing I would also question is the 25 limit. We might have homeowners in this town who don't require a subsidy, who want to participate in this program. What if we get 35 people to participate in this program who aren't dependent on the $417,000 grant that MassTech got? So I'm not sure that limiting it to 25 volunteers makes sense. It still is going to be a very small number in terms of the whole scheme of things. But I guess I would just suggest we go back to the drawing board and improve the language and then come back to you. This is also something, I guess, that the Board of Health can make a decision about, right?
They're negotiating separately with them. Peter's talking to Scott McGann.
Yeah, but I think we want to be clear with the Board of Health also about what the request is in terms of the waiver, and what conditions need to be met by the participant in the study.
Well, yes, may I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, sure.
The idea was to get a general feel for the Water Quality Committee's opinion about the principle of this. And what I hear is that John Waterbury thinks it's absurd and bad. Everybody else thinks it's okay, but needs to be tightened up. If there was some way that we could express that we have 6 votes for it and 1 against, but it needs to be tightened up, that would satisfy the purposes of Brian and Peter. Right. As far as moving this forward.
Right. And what I'm hearing from some of the other members is, before you count me as one of the 6, I want to know exactly what I'm recommending. And
I would say, Ken,
I understand that.
Kim, I think we're moving towards a vote. That in principle, we like this, and we want to see the language improve.
Yeah.
Recommend, okay?
Yeah.
Regarding the 25, more than 25, I don't know how the whole program's been put together, but I believe the 25 is set up to determine if UD is valid or not. I would expect if UD is valid and it becomes an available choice as we march forward, we'll be revisiting the concept of waiver from IA mandates. for people beyond the first 25, once the program's, the study's done, and we've said, this is what it is, this is how it can go forward, this is its advantage or its drawbacks.
Right.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, like, what if we got 35 participants and 10 of them are willing to convert all of the toilets in their
I
house?
think right now, who's ever putting this together up at the Mass Tech Center, they're working on a 25 number as a manageable number for what they're trying to do,
Yeah.
okay? If there's more than 25, then they get to pick the best 25 to get a good result.
You said you have an agreement that they will sign.
We're working on it. We have a rough.
We've got an agreement that's quite far along.
Because a simple way to resolve my uncertainty would be to say, so long as you're in compliance with the agreement, but we need to know what's in the agreement
Right.
before we can vote
But we
that.
can't write, it's a catch-22, we can't write the agreement until we know in principle what's acceptable to the town
I
in
mean,
terms of a gift to the volunteers.
presume that there needs to be some assurance that they continue to participate, which probably means getting whatever their routine analyses done
And that's in the
those
agreement.
sorts of things.
Yes, that's totally reasonable, and I have written that down, and I will
And,
put that
none
in.
of that's in here. So that, your analysis of at least what I think is 100% on track. I like the idea, but I wanted to see a tighter agreement.
More comments from the public? If it's substantive, otherwise I want to entertain a motion for, something in principle.
Do you want to call a formal vote? I was going to recommend that we table the motion and ask for more input from the working group.
I second that, if that's a motion that you're making to table.
That's the motion. I would like to make that
So a
motion.
discussion on the motion to table,
Right.
okay? Is now in order.
I would go along with that if one of my fellow committee members or more would help me with suggested writing
I'm happy to help you,
that would keep you happy.
and I'm sure Tom is happy to help.
Be careful
A
about three,
volunteer.
but careful about three of you working on one document outside of this meeting.
I'm happy to
They could send
I'm happy to help.
suggestions to Kristen, couldn't they, or some workaround like that?
As long as we're not discussing it.
Yeah.
Just,
If emails wind up in Kristen's inbox.
I think it's,
So there's
I think it's a 15-minute
any more discussion on the motion to table? There's been a motion made and seconded to table this and rework the language. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Did you oppose?
I pose.
It appears that the motion carried.
Yeah.
Do we have to do a standing vote? You have to get three. You have to get so many town meeting members to request. Is it six? 6 town meeting members? John, did you request a standing vote? What's the rule?
No, I
What's
think
the
they
rule?
only need one, don't they?
No, yeah, that's a certain number, whatever. Okay, moving along. Item 4, Kristen, I believe this is with you and Ken. Ken, you want to cover this a little bit?
Well, as hopefully the committee remembers, I guess, thanks to, I don't know, who wrote that grant? Kristen, did you write it? Thanks to a grant Kristen wrote, we have some equipment to monitor oxygen and conductivity and underwater light levels that we were hoping to deploy in Perch Pond in advance of the sewering project going forward around, for the TASA. Are we calling it TASA? Can we do that?
No.
Great Pond 1?
Great Pond Phase 1.
Great Pond Phase 1. And so as a step towards doing that, Kristen identified, I think, 4 property owners who had docks that extend out into the pond. And this week, was it this week or was it last week?
Last week.
We made a visit to those docks, and that's how far we've gotten. Unfortunately, 1 or 2 of them have, after they actually saw us, decided they didn't want to do it. I don't know what we said.
What were you wearing?
I should have showered, I think. But, there's a couple of nice sites. So the next step, we're going to try to gather up some equipment to install on the docks, and so we can drop in these monitors and start off doing it.
It would be good to have actual, water quality data
Right.
from Perch
I
Pond.
was really hoping, so it was kind of neat, there was one dock on one side of the pond in about 1.5 meters of water, and on the other side of the pond, it was in 4 meters of water, which was surprising to me, but I guess there's a section of the pond that's pretty deep. Would have been really nice to get that deep water and shallow water measurement on opposite sides of the pond, so that we could have seen if there's significant stratification and anoxia in the deep water. But unfortunately, the deep water person is less inclined to have us come. So I'm still maybe hopeful we can plead with them, but we'll see. That's kind of where we are. We put together the instruments. I don't think we've actually tested them, have we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did? Oh,
Yeah.
good for us.
What do they look like? How big is this thing?
There's cylinders with a couple of sensors hanging off. So there's a power pack. I mean, they're what we call a sonde.
Yep.
And so they log the data. You can program it to do it every 15 minutes if you want. And the biggest difference between these instruments and a more expensive version is that they don't have anything that wipes the sensors to keep the fouling organisms at bay. So that means someone's going to have to go out there with some frequency and scrub them off.
Is that the objection of the homeowner, that you'd be
I think,
on their property doing this?
I suspect that's part of the objection.
Can't do it from a boat, a rowboat, or
Well,
Allow
you know, if we had a boat, we could put in a mooring and do it. But we don't have a boat, and we don't necessarily have a place to put a boat.
Yeah, I used to have a nice little skiff, but I gave it to my grandson. But you could launch at the town landing on, off of.
Right, but if you have to do that-
And then go through that inlet, but you almost have to carry a boat through that depending
Right,
on the tide.
so that was actually an incentive to some of these homeowners. One of them asked, can we get tide information? Because they really all want to get the entrance to the pond dredged.
Right.
And the tide tables are not accurate, so they never know when they should go off and do it. So we do have some pressure sensors we could also throw on to some of these docks, and then they could compare the predicted tides to the actual tides, and see if there's any relationship that can come up with. So that might be an incentive. Yeah.
I really appreciate you two, or Kristen working to get the grant, and you two both specifying what this is. I think it's terrific to collect data. I'm putting in a plug to get them in there as soon as possible, because I think we all kind of wish we had more history on Little Pond before we did the work. You know, we have we have a relatively short history, so if you can get them out still this summer, and get some summer data this year, that'd be great.
Well, I think we will get them out this summer, but you know, it's going to require, it may require that we have a diver go connect these things to the dock and stuff like that. So it's not going to happen in a day or two. It might happen over the next few weeks.
You could almost kayak or canoe from the town landing over that very shallow inlet into Perch Pond and get to where you gotta be. It's not a great distance.
Right, but I mean, we
Sounds like
can,
Ed's volunteering.
Well, if I still had my skiff, I'd be happy to do it, but, you know, my 16-footer is too deep a draft.
right.
That'll set the.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's too deep. 60, what does it draw? Half, 6 inches?
It's a very heavy boat.
Okay.
It's, you know, 600-pound hull busting
Yeah.
outboard. You know,
Could you do it with a kayak?
you could kayak or canoe,
Yeah.
and, you know, it's, how often would you have to do that? And
it really, I think you need, I mean, Kristen and I are debating this, but I think you probably need to go every couple of weeks,
Yeah,
at least during the peak
definitely in the
season.
summer.
Right.
Yeah.
Because stuff grows really fast. There is a copper, so they have a copper sort of meshwork that they put over the area where the sensors are, and that discourages organisms from settling, but.
Should last for a little bit.
But the sensors themselves are not, they're not made out of anti-fouling material. So, and if stuff grows on the oxygen sensor, for example, then you're not going to get accurate readings. Yeah.
So you mentioned a few of the variables that you're going to be measuring, but I'm assuming that we're going to collect a whole range of geochemistry from already existing programs?
No, I don't think there's a lot of
you said-
existing programs.
You said oxygen conductivity, light levels? What-
Right, those are, because these instruments will measure those and record them. So we can go out there and then just hook up computer up to them.
But we're not doing water sampling for the full range of
We're not,
geochemical, to establish a
I mean, there may
baseline?
be, mass tech may be doing something.
SMAST, so the town pays the School of Marine Science at Dartmouth to sample the ponds, sample these ponds every year, and they do it, but they don't have sondes out there. They do grab samples twice a month. They do it like 5 or 6 times a summer. So we have this grab data, but we don't have continuous.
Okay, but we're collecting baseline geochemical
data,
data
yeah.
across the whole range.
Yeah, so for example, you have chlorophyll, all those, and that's true for Little Pond too. We have this long history of chlorophyll data from the SMAS project, which they establish a sentinel station to have, for total nitrogen, and then that's the criteria for recovery, but is to have total nitrogen reach some level at the sentinel station. But what we'll get with the oxygen information is, how much hypoxia or anoxia is there? Because if you just go at one time of the day, you're getting a snapshot, whereas, all night long there's oxygen consumption, and all day long there's oxygen production. And what is the overall daily pattern for the system?
One other question quickly. This is Precinct 3. Did you engage the Precinct 3 captain about seeking out homeowners on Perch Pond?
Kristen talked to a bunch of people.
So there's a homeowner who has been in collaboration with Chuck and MES trying to get some projects over there, who's part of like the Perch Pond Neighborhood Association. And he gave me names of the people with docks and recommended which ones to actually talk to, which might be more amenable to participating in the project. So those were the ones that I reached out to first.
So.
And there's only so many people that have good docks.
Yeah, I wanna
And
frame-
I think we hit most of them, actually.
I want to try to frame the sort of water quality measurement rubric a little bit if I can. So, as just pointed out, the historical data sets all sort of grab samples at these defined stations in each one of these ponds. When we looked at where we're at with the Bourne Pond bridge project and everything, Ken, as I recall, you and who was it that was our PRB man on the board? No.
Matt Schritt,
No, not Matt, the woman.
Jordan.
Jordan, you and Jordan did something about what would be good water quality data, and we got to the point of these SON things that, but the price tag on them was not insignificant, and the idea was, if we could find a way to get a couple of these, we could move them around in different places to get data.
The only thing I would disagree with you on, I think it is insignificant compared to the cost of the infrastructure. Insignificant.
Okay, but there was no funding source to get the SONs. How's that?
Unless you build it in
There was
to the-
no funding source,
Just
okay?
making a pitch there.
I'm trying to put a positive spin on this, okay? So, we found a way through the grant process to get enough money for what I would call, the low-cost version of a SON. It's only measuring certain things. It's not whatever. my hope is we put these in and we start to see a continuous data string on this project, and it creates a more positive understanding of the value of that data, and then comes back to getting a couple of more devices that, the funding is insignificant to the relative overall cost of the project and is a reasonable expenditure to fund. I have not discussed this with Amy, but I may as well reveal my intentions now. So, we got 2 of them, get them in, see what we get for data. And the beauty is that these things can run over a longer period of time than the folks that are going out and doing the grab samples. The folks doing the grab samples, they stop in September, don't they?
Approximately.
Yeah, I mean, they don't go November, they're not out there.
I believe it's June, July, August.
Yeah, so we're gonna get data over a longer period of time.
Yeah, they can get dropped in as soon as it's ice out and picked up, sometime
So
in
as soon as you
December.
as soon as you turn on the outdoor
So
shower,
March to-
as soon as you turn on the outdoor shower, put the sonde in, as soon as you take the outdoor shower off, take the sonde out.
Depends when you put the outdoor shower on.
All right?
So that's where we are on that. Did I miss anything?
Thanks, Ken.
Reports of members and staff, how are our oysters doing?
Oysters are doing great. I don't have a formal report
That's okay.
on them, but I do want to raise the question. Ed and I volunteered to help an Eagle Scout
Oh, yeah.
project, and we've not heard anything yet from him, so I don't know what the status is of
Maybe he
his.
flew the coop.
That's part of the project,
Could be.
part of the learning.
Yeah, well, anyway, I just
If you
wanted.
don't show up, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, so that's my 2 reports.
John, Board of Health and the IA regulations, where's that? They working towards a hearing?
I think they're very close to having a hearing at the end of this month.
Town councils looked at it?
Town council has looked at it. They did a few minor word smithing, but I think it's basically there.
Kristen passed along to me, was down Cape, was it Wellfleet? Where Wellfleet did their initial IA regulation, but then they came back and revised it after they saw how it played out the first time. So I guess as we interact with the Board of Health and the public, we should point out that we've got a regulation coming forward, but there's a learning time period, some feedback, and then probably revisiting it, not in 5 years, but, within a year or year and a half, and make some adjustments to make it, more targeted to what we want it to do. Okay? You've already given your report on the,
Well, actually, I had an additional report. I was very recently at a meeting at which something that I proposed was tabled, and I have a suggestion, if I may, that if you all could, to avoid the conflict of interest, send any suggestions to Kim, who is not on this committee, and he might be willing to synthesize it.
that's good. Does everybody know how to reach Kim? You got that billboard that sits out there on 28. Need pond help? Call Kim.
I think we should also integrate this with the agreement. I think we should be sharing the agreement.
One thing at a time. I just achieved having them get the information to you. What happens to it after that is not hard to figure out.
What do you got, Ed? You get your fingers in everything.
Well, I dabble. Couple of things for general information. There was a well-attended and very well-organized Great Pond Phase 1 info meeting last Thursday. Amy did a presentation, and then there was a chance for people to ask questions, and then very importantly, there were 4 tables set up with various staff to go into details on individual properties, and the few folks I spoke to that had questions about their property thought it was great. This is why they came to the meeting. I don't know how the other tables, but, the few people that asked some questions of me, and I gave them some info, it was a great first stab at getting the word to people, and I know Amy's going to plan other ones. The other thing, the Board of Health, well, John touched on that, I'll skip it. Select Board did vote the betterment policy at their last meeting, last Monday. And also on Great Pond Phase 1, I was at the DPW garage picking up my Outfall packet, and there are some nice poster size on easel stands, the maps of what properties have what type of connection, whether it's gravity or grinder pump. So I think that's great. I would suggest maybe, if possible, that something like that could be put up here at Town Hall. I don't know if it has been, or maybe even at the library.
Yeah, I was going to say the East Falmouth Library would be a great location.
Yeah, I think, but
That's the neighborhood library.
it's good info for people to have a chance to study, because not everybody could go to that meeting last Thursday. Just another couple of quick points. I happened to hit Snug Harbor today at low tide, and it was ugly as hell. I mean, we're still hoping for some positive info at some point on PRB grants. but we still don't have
And
it.
there's a free tide app, so you could program to get over there at high tide.
Yeah, well, I get there when I can,
case it might
after
look
breakfast
better.
at the Village Cafe, but, it was opaque brown algae water. It's just a dead zone. All of the shoreline is covered with this ugly stuff, and on a positive note, though, Little Pond looks fantastic. I watched the effluent going out through the channel to the sound. It's crystal clear. There was a couple of little pieces of chewed up eelgrass from the damn swans, but, the effects of the sewering of Little Pond are readily apparent to anybody who looks at it and has been watching it over the years. We don't have some of the data that I think is important that Ken and Kristen and Amy have talked about, but damn, that pond looks one hell of a lot better. There's more life in it. I've seen blue crabs. I've seen horseshoe crabs, a lot of little fish.
A lot of blue crabs.
And, it just looks great. So the damn system of sewering and all of that work and all that money, it works. Can't wait to see it hit Great Pond and Perch Pond in particular, so.
So to that comment, Ed, Kristen has recently looked back at things other than just the nitrogen values to look for some trends, and that'll probably be in a future meeting when what she's been looking at, and it reinforces that things are getting better, maybe not as rapidly as some people would like to, but one of the things, Kristen, that you said to me was that the macroalgae doesn't appear to be at all present.
So the SMAS data, they don't make any macroalgae observations in their data set, so there's no record of them.
But that's one of the things to be looking for.
The latest state eelgrass survey did show modest expansion of
Oh, it
the
did?
extent of eelgrass. Yeah.
Did we get that, Kristen?
It's online.
Huh?
It's online.
Can you not, if you don't mind, because you know where it is, maybe grab it and then at a future meeting, just throw it up there?
Yeah, I have a figure. Yeah, there's variation every year.
Yeah,
so-
but it's still, it's not smaller.
It wasn't getting smaller.
It's not smaller, so, yeah. Okay. All right. Ed, I cut you off. You got more?
That's it.
That's all?
I've said too much.
Oh, that's all, okay. Okay. Minutes of the prior meeting. I was
You
not
want
in
to talk
attendance.
about meeting dates, the next meeting
Oh,
dates?
yeah, thank you. Meeting dates. Going on the 2-week schedule, does that, help me out, Kristen, the 20th of this month? The 3rd of September?
18th is a Monday, so the 20th,
And then the 20th of September? Yeah,
the 20th
No,
of
20th of August.
August. Yeah, what did I just say? 20th of August. 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now. And I know that a couple of you pushed suggestions for things to put on the agenda. I'll gladly accept a couple more. I have reached out to the town's new resiliency coordinator, asking him if he could make some time to come in and, they've done some presentation on the culvert at Oyster Pond up off of the bike path in West Falmouth. But just to talk to this committee, because even though it's not directly in our thing, what they're doing, what their expectations are, and how the science behind how they made their decisions.
Jordan is head of that project.
Understood.
too. I think I saw her out there. There were 4 people out in that marsh.
But
By the
part of
culvert.
it is the town's hired a resiliency coordinator.
Yep.
I'd like him to feel comfortable interacting with this group and keeping us informed. Okay. You have anything else I forgot, Kristen? Okay. Amy, anything? Maggie?
Is there the opportunity to ask a question?
Random questions, questions on the agenda?
Well, I mean,
Maggie?
related to every agenda ever. Maggie McGaw, do I need to
Wait a
recite?
second. Can I get a vote that will allow Maggie to ask questions? So moved. All those in favor, to say aye.
Oh, thank you. So my question, I've been thinking a lot, Steve has generously volunteered to attend the annual meeting of Citizens for the Protection of Walkway Bay next week. And, you know, we have been talking about what we're going to talk about and the questions that we're going to try to answer. And one of my big questions is, I have a lot of confusion about nitrogen-sensitive areas, watersheds, and geo-bounded zones.
Okay.
And I don't know at this point where the committee is on the geo-boundaries and the requirement for IA, and I think that that's a big question mark. I'm just interested if anyone can shed light on it.
Yeah, so, Kristen, I'll work with you. We'll get 3 maps put together for the Wacoit Bay area, right? So the nitrogen-sensitive areas are designated by the DEP. Then not every watershed is in a nitrogen-sensitive area, and then there's sub-watersheds. So in the Wacoit watershed, which has got an NSA designation, are there 5 or 6? There's several of them in the Wacoit.
2, it's Eel Pond and Wacoit Bay.
There's just the 3? Okay. So we'll bring a map and this shows, you know, NSAs and watersheds for Wacoit are identical.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
They're identical. And then the geo-boundaries, I'll get a map. When we took our first look at within an NSA area watershed, how far would we have to go with sewers and/or IAs to achieve the Sentinel Station? It's not a final thing. We haven't got a watershed plan. And we just use the phrase geo-boundary because it's an expression that comes out of GIS mapping. So I'll have a poster board or whatever of all 3 of those and bring them with me. Perfect. Easy to do. It's easy to do. Do you have access to the printer at engineering? Okay. Coordinate with me. And I'm sure Peter will green light printing them up at the DPW. Okay. Amy will get them printed for us.
I'm just not sure what you mean by having a poster of geo-boundaries. That is not finalized yet.
It's not finalized. Well, it'll be very clear that this is just an exercise we did, a first step.
Okay.
One of the things that happens, Amy, is people are like, will I have to put an, you know, am I likely to have to put an IA in? And I feel uncomfortable going to a meeting like this and saying, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. We've looked at it enough to say, there are people that are going to have to put in some type of IA. Does it go from here to the row in front of Maggie? Does it go to Maggie's row or the row behind Maggie? But it's not nothing. It's not nothing. And I feel that if we're not telling people what we've done, that it's not a final, but it's a generalized indication of the scale of what's going to have to be done.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, and put the big word draft on it.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, the preliminary maps have already been published out there on the website through Kristen's presentation, so it's not new material.
Right.
Steve, if I may add to that, just because it's a definition I think that's important, and that's one of the things that Board of Health has been wrestling with in their first mandate for new construction. And the latest meeting I went to last Monday, they were down to calling for IA mandates in all town of Falmouth designated nitrogen-sensitive areas. That was the latest wording they seemed to agree on, subject to change for the next rev, but all town of Falmouth designated nitrogen-sensitive areas, so it took it out of just the DEP definition.
Since everybody was cutting down my wording, that's incredibly ambiguous.
Well, this
Does
is
it
the Board
mean
of Health. This is
all areas
not
that have been designated in Falmouth?
by the
Falmouth?
town.
It doesn't say that with
It
that
said
grammar.
Town of Falmouth designated.
It
Town
can mean
of
either
Falmouth.
in Falmouth or by Falmouth.
Gentlemen, please don't argue.
Why not?
If you don't have, I think it's 11, whatever, we can get you a copy of it, Steve, okay? It's out there. Under definitions, it's better than it's been. It might not be perfect. I had a comment that one area they don't include in their definition right now is the Long Pond watershed. Okay, it's not an NSA area, but it does feed to the town's water supply. And the town years ago did a mapping of the zone of contribution. One of these nuances of the way the DEP organizes things, the DEP sees Long Pond as a surface water supply. So all that gets protected is the watershed contributing to Long Pond. If you've ever taken a hike around Long Pond on the trail, you're basically at the top of the watershed. There's no stream in, there's no stream out. And so 100 feet away from where you're walking on the trail is the only area protected. Meanwhile, because it's a groundwater source, it's a kettle pond, that's where all the water comes from, the zone of contribution extends up across Brick Hill Road, up past the high school, and a ways up Gifford Street. And over the years, because it's a town-defined zone, 40B steamrolled by it. We were able to get a couple of developers who wanted to play nice and put in IA systems, but it would be good to get it into the definition. I've written a comment to them already as a citizen on that, and I believe the current superintendent of the water department will be issuing a similar comment to them on that. So I'll get you a copy. I've read that definition very closely, Steve, at this point. Okay.
To me?
Yeah, I'm saying,
Oh.
yeah, but you should read it, rather than you guys going back and forth over if it's a good definition or not.
Yeah.
Please read it, and when they have a hearing, get in there and tweak it. Did you have more?
No, that's it, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Minutes of prior meeting. Steve, I'm turning the meeting over to you. I wasn't here.
Are there any comments on changes that anyone wants to make to these minutes? Well, I move that they be accepted as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Okay.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman?
Second?
No discussion on this motion. All those in favor so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ken?
Thank you.